Hey guys, well thanks again for joining us on our Friday afternoon training sessions. Today, as you know, we've invited CaniBuild along. So we've got Jim and Tim. So Tim's there with Jim's name at the moment, but that's Tim sitting at the desk with the computer. So as you know, we've been using CaniBuild for some time now. We've got a national subscription with CaniBuild, and we've recently just doubled our subscription through the co-op fund. So we've been hitting limits. So everyone's making good use of the CaniBuild software, hitting the number of credit lookups for all the addresses. And yeah, we're finding that everyone's getting great use out of it, and obviously had to increase that subscription level. So we've invited CaniBuild here today just to go through a few new features. So I think specifically there's some new rules and things around double stories and different setbacks and things. We'll touch base on some marketplace. We've identified a few challenges in our franchise group to how that marketplace works, but we'll work with the CaniBuild team to move forward with that one at a later date. Yep. And the one that I'm most excited about is the website integration. So it's a way of getting leads on the website and integrating some of the features of CaniBuild into our sites. So, all right, guys, I'll pass it over to you. Maybe you can share your screen and you can show us around.
Yeah, no, fantastic, Tim. Thanks for the invite. Keen to sort of run through those new features, and for everyone on the session, hello, and it's good to sort of touch base with a lot of you at the same time, which is really good. So without further ado, I'll share my screen and I'll run through some of the new features. And as always, I'm happy to sort of fire off any questions as I sort of go along, and I'll try to answer those as I'm showcasing those features. So
if anyone's got any questions, let us know.
Yeah. So let me just share my screen. So I've just logged in. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. What I'll do is I'll go to my favorite address for demos, which is 78 Hood Street. If anyone's been following my webinars or training videos on YouTube or any of my previous sessions, you're probably familiar with this address. But
most what I want to ever put on one single block.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, some of the things I want to sort of point to your attention straight away, which may have been missed, is number one, we are starting to show more context around the block as opposed to just the block itself. So this applies to any sewer easements or trees in this case, where you're able to see the general area, as opposed to having to click those neighboring properties to get that information. As well, this again may have been missed on the bottom left-hand side on top of the map. We've got a date, so you're always aware of the date of the image that you're looking at. So that date constantly changes depending on the address that you're looking up, and then that gives you confidence that you're looking at something that's quite recent. Nice. On the left-hand side, we've got our tabs as per normal, but you may have already noticed on the right-hand side, just below Hi Timothy, there's a new icon just below the magnet, which is this little house, half colored, which is indicating one of our new features is the double story. Now, the Zoom video feed might be covering that, so some of you might have to drag that across, especially if you've got it on the top right-hand side. So let's just start with some of those new features. If we click on designs, as per always, we can see the entire catalog of designs, this being our demo account. But if we do pick a design that's been uploaded as a double story, and at the end of this session, I'll give Tim a link to show how that upload process works. But just to jump right in there, if I do click on a design that is a double story design.
So Tim, we need to go through our current standards of double stories and make sure they're entered as a double story. Yeah,
that's one of the key steps. So 100% we'll be doing that for all the integrity designs. But this one here is a double story design, and I just want to sort of indicate what happens straight away. Number one, you can see the ground floor as per normal, but you're able to see a dashed line indicating the upper level as well. As a nice touch, you'll be able to, on the right-hand side, if you click on that half house, be able to switch to the upper level. And then if you do click that, you're able to flip between the ground floor and the first floor. So you're able to show the client what's happening, be able to show both floor levels. And when you generate flyers, it'll also include those ground and upper floor levels when you do generate those, which I'll show in a moment. So that's one new feature which we're tremendously proud of, but it not only shows the ground floor and the first floor, what it also does is if you do move the plan and you breach one of these setbacks, as per normal, it will breach the ground floor. And say, for instance, in this case, it does that red outline showing that the ground floor has been breached and there's a setback issue. But if I do keep on moving this along, you can see now the upper level is now highlighted in red as well and showing you that you're breaching the side setback for the upper level. If I switch to an architectural view, you'll be able to see that a little bit clearer. So if I move that along, you'll see another dashed line in addition to the gray. And this is showing you the setbacks for the upper level. So now you're able to drag designs to the back, for example, or to the side and know how close you can get to it. So here, if I move this out of that sort of dashed line area, you can see that's disappeared. And now you're complying to the upper level, but you're not complying to the ground level. And then you keep moving that across to be compliant with the ground level as well. So, and that's, you know, more obvious, especially when you start moving designs to the rear. Here it's turned red because of the trees, but as soon as you breach that rear setback for the upper level, you can see that the dashed line has appeared, and now you see that the closest you'll ever be able to get this design, irrespective of the trees, is somewhere around there. So it's a nice way of understanding exactly where you're able to now site your builds, be it a single story or a double story build. To reinforce that and to make that even clearer, as always, you can click on the Rules tab just below, just next to that Design tab, and scroll down, and you'll now notice there's ground floor and first floor. So it's actually telling you what those first floor setbacks are. So if you did breach that, you can see here that it's breaching the rear setback, and you're at 7.6 when you have to be at 8. So this is something that the whole team is incredibly proud of, because it's starting to cover all bases in terms of siting, and you won't have, it will further reduce the amount of rework that you have to do between yourself and the drafting.
Yeah, that's great.
So let's just place that there. Now, as I indicated before, if you do go to Cart, which is the marketplace, and I'll touch on some of those marketplace improvements, but if we were to just jump down and generate a flyer, we're able to sort of generate that flyer. And I'm just trying to think if I've got the, let me just change this design to one that I've got a front facade, because I've been playing around with this. So let me just click on bridge. This is just yet another double story design. So that's same deal. Let me just quickly place that. Okay, brilliant. Okay, now, and you can see that it's breaching the upper story, but that doesn't matter for this purpose. We'll go to Cart, go to Flyer, click Order, agree to T's and C's, and go to Checkout. And you'll be able to generate a marketing style A4 flyer, which will be, which we're working close with Tim to ensure that it's in line with exact branding and stylizing. But if we do generate that flyer, you can see it in docs as per anything else that you request. You can see here it's new, and then you can click download, open that guy up, and you'll be seeing Integrity branded stylized flyer with the ground floor, upper floor of the selected design, which you can see here. You can see the attributes, the name, any range, etc. Dimension boxes at the bottom, the sales consultants detailed, and etc. So it's a nice way to very quickly generate flyers in combination with generating site plans, which I'm hoping that everyone's fully aware of. But this is another improvement to reflect the introduction of two-story designs.
So is the site plan usually attached to this as well?
We can set it up that way. Right now, it's basically just a separate request. So here, if you go to site plan and click on order there, and I'll quickly do an annotation just to reinforce that point as well. So you can always right click, add annotation, and go blah comment. And then if you go to, again, the cart, scroll down to site plan, click that, click order and agree to T's and C's and go to checkout. It'll request that site plan and it'll be generating in the background, and that takes about 20 seconds and I'll be able to jump back to show you guys how that looks. So most of our clients will be generating a flyer, generating a site plan and coupling them both together in existing proposal material, and off the cuff sort of send to a client showing how their build's looking. So I'll let that quickly generate. The other things that I wanted to sort of touch on in terms of this marketplace, and again, we're working with Tim to make sure that we jump over those hurdles in terms of how it works for the group. But just to showcase how that functionality works, you can obviously purchase bushfire reports, titles, DPs, and other consultant details. And these consultants can be your known consultants. It doesn't have to be ours. So they can be tied into your favorite geotech report engineer, for example. But if you were to purchase, say, a title or add your own items in there, which could be a design consultation or reflect any of the payment steps that Integrity does, but say you did pick title and picked order and agreed to T's and C's and go to checkout, what will happen if this is being set up? A payment gateway will pop up and you can actually enter the credit card details of the client. And then those funds will be directed back to the organization. And some of these are to ensure that the accounts are all working correctly. I think these are some of the points that we're discussing holistically.
Just to be clear how that's working there, Tim. So if we purchase something that's a default, like a title search, it's saying here it's paying CaniBuild. So that would be the case in our situation as well, where we pay you, you'd organize the title search.
Yes. So in the case of this title, yes. But for instance, if we go into admin by clicking at the top, hi Timothy, and clicking admin, and going to that marketplace catalog here and go to houses. So for instance, with title, there's a few things you can do. You can leave it as is, which is one of the items that we supply. But if you click on it, you can actually add your own margin on top of our cost. So that's one thing. And then a portion of that payment will be going to Integrity and a portion will be going to CaniBuild. Or you can create your own item by clicking add item and introduce an item that's not a CaniBuild item. And then 100% of that will be going to Integrity, for example. And you can even bundle some of these items, because some of our clients are bundling design consultation, this, that, like plus title, plus site plans, plus a few other bits and pieces, and grouping them all together in a $2,000 bundle or $1,500 bundle. So you're able to do that as well.
Understood. So just for our group here, this is some of the challenges that we're facing as a franchise group at the moment, in that there's all these pricing is in here, but we have one single catalog for our entire group at this point in time. So it's very hard for one of our franchisees to put their own item in there and it not get confused with everyone else's. So that's part of the thing we're trying to work out with CaniBuild on how to structure our business to make that work.
Yep. 100%. So jumping back here, we're in docs. You can see site plan has new tag on it. If I click on that site plan and click download and open that guy up, as always, you'll be able to generate a site plan like that, which will be branded and stylized in your branding and colors. And then on the top left-hand side, you've got your site calculations. On the right-hand side, you've got my comment that I quickly done. And then if you scroll down, there'll be a zoomed-in view of where you've positioned this building, in this case, terribly across the boundary. But that gives you a quick idea that this can be coupled with the flyer, and essentially you've done something quite quickly, especially for a house and land packaging as well, or for something you want to sort of cite for a particular client. Now, touching on that, one of the other features that's relatively new but may have been missed is this filing cabinet on the right-hand side of the address bar. So if you click on that guy there, what you're able to actually do here is create multiple versions on the same site. So you can use this to do option A, option B for a particular siting if the client's sort of tossing between two plans. Or some of our clients that are doing house and land packaging can package 5 house and land packages on the same address at 5 different slight price points or 5 slightly different designs, and then you're able to do that. And that's as simple as clicking new draft or copying the existing version into a new version. So say, for example, you marked up a lot of things, did a lot of annotations for the site generally, and you didn't want to lose that, then you can just simply copy or just create a new draft to start afresh. Just to also highlight some of the improvements we've done on our measuring tool as well. Our measuring tool is just above that magnet, which is the snap. But this little square tool, I'll sort of showcase how that can be used, but sometimes that's being missed. If you click on that square tool, you're able to use it to trace things that you're seeing on the aerial. So say, for example, we wanted to mark up this driveway as being for demolition. You're able to use that measuring tool and trace that out. And then the nice thing is when you lap around, it'll give you the square meterage, the perimeter, the segment lengths of that trace, and you can even select on it and change its colors, etc. So say, for example, red to symbolize it's part of demo. You can use this same tool to say you wanted to extend this alfresco out and show modifications on the design. So again, clicking that square, it'll snap to the plan like that, and then you're able to use this to sort of measure out a modification to this, and then be able to show the client. Now, again, it's not designed to turn anyone into an instant engineer or architect, but it's meant to illustrate, is this what this particular client wants? And then you're able to sort of click edit and then drag some of the sides and say, no, I want it full length. I want, the world's biggest alfresco in this case. But you're able to sort of push that out, and you can see how this can be used to maybe extend out a garage slightly for storage or an alfresco, or reflect some kind of change. And as always, you're able to use that map button on the bottom left-hand side to switch between the aerial view and the architectural view, depending on your preference. Now, one of the other things I want to sort of touch on, which again gets missed quite a few times, is the cut and fill tool. So on the right-hand side, the last icon there, if you click on that, it's actually showing you the fall of the land over the proposed build area. So I'll let that quickly calculate. And this just helps you work with the contours without actually having to understand the contours. So here you can see point A is identifying the highest point of the build on grade, point B is on the same grade, and then point C is at 1.25 meters in the air, signified in blue, and point D is 1.5 meters in the air. Now, all these are doing is relying on these contours, which you can always show in the back to understand what the fall of the land is over the proposed build. So in this case, it's 1.5 meters. So this is also just a nice way to be able to speak with the client in terms of the best design or the best location for a build, and use those without even having to fully understand the contours, or do it in a way where the client better understands.
That's great.
So now just very quickly, just jumping around and to make most use of the time, I just want to also touch on the number of new estates that we have loaded up on the system. And for the benefit of those that might be from, say, the ACT or from Queensland and other places, I just want to sort of touch on that in the ACT, all setbacks in terms of those weird, small, medium, large, compact blocks is taken into account. In Queensland, all eaves are taken into account, so the furthest projected point for distance as opposed to the wall. So it's very dynamic and it reflects exactly the jurisdiction that you guys are in. So just to jump on the new estates as well, as always, you can go to a new estate by typing it in and scrolling down and typing in part of the estate name or the lot number of an estate that you're looking for. Or what I like to do is click Show Estates. And clicking Show Estates loads all the developments that we have on the system, which we have now some 655. We're loading in about 10 or so on average per day. And the nice thing is that when you start scrolling in, each of these pins either represent one or a multitude of developments by number. So every time you're scrolling, these are expanding more and more. We used to call it our COVID map because it looks like it's spreading, but given the situation in Australia now, I don't say that joke anymore because it's terrible. And then if you did click on one of these estates, it'll load the entire estate for you to see. And then you can scroll in and pick those lots and start siting it and start repeating that whole process of siting, generating site plans and flyers, etc. So just to reinforce that point, let me just click that guy. And then on the left-hand side, you can see it's affected by bushfire. You see the setbacks, and you can imagine your clients seeing it in this perspective. The first thing they'll do is say, wow. Second thing is they'll tell you to sort of move around and see what's happening around their block, that they're waiting for it to be registered. And as always, you can see the date on the bottom left-hand side, in this case, 12th of the 8th. So you can see that it's quite recent. So these are some of the features that we're doing. Something that's coming very shortly in terms of new estates, and I'll jump to an example, which is Waterton Park. We've partnered with Johnson Property Group in this regards. If we zoom in, you can start seeing the level of detail that we have on our estates. So you can see here drainage easements, sewer, trees, driveway location, verges, etc. on these type of developments. And this will be rolled out to all the developments that we have on the system. And then in addition to that, you'll be able to soon hover over and highlight, and in red, it'll show which blocks are sold, which blocks are on hold, which blocks are available, because we're tapping into the back end of developer systems to reflect that with recent changes. So you'll be able to use this to sort of help your clients even find the block potentially, or know what's available and what's not.
Very clever. So can you put the color coding on that entire map so you can see what is available? Or it's
yeah,
100%.
100%. No, we're doing the whole map. We've just hidden it for now because we're working with Johnson to tee up all of that together with everything else, and then we'll turn it on, and then this will be just a mix of green, orange for on hold or deposit taken, or red as in sold across the map, and then you'll be able to see what's available, as well as release dates or the proposed release date from the developer. Because in this case, you can see we're showing the whole estate, which developers hate releasing everything all at once. They're doing stage by stage. Yeah. But on our system, you'll be able to see stages in advance as well. So the other thing that I wanted to quickly touch on is how we can now integrate CaniBuild on a lightweight version on websites and landing pages as a form of lead gen. So let me showcase that, which is something quite good. So let me just share my screen. So this is giving you some examples of the widget, and I'll show it live as well on some of our clients' websites. So it's obviously can be branded and stylized, and essentially what CaniBuild is doing here is a widget which is very lightweight for just to create engagement with your potential clients. So you're able to display house and land packages on estates, for example. It acts as
that view first. There was a web page, and then there was a full screen option. Was there?
Basically, what you're seeing here is the widget, so it's buried in there. So as you zoom in, this 951 is showing the different estates, or you can pick an estate from the left-hand side. It'll drill down to that estate, in this case, say Hills of Carmel, and then on the left-hand side, it'll show the house and land packages that you guys have created on this. So it'll just be purely your projects, your house and land packages. And then if you do drill down into a particular block of land, it'll ask for a user to create a guest account, and that's the lead gen, but they can see something exciting happening in the background. So typically they'll encourage them to get this done and move to the next step, and then they'll be able to start playing around with the different design options. And then you're even able to put a payment gateway here or not, or just simply rely on getting a flyer, for example. But the best way to show how this all works is to show it live, and I'll show it for one of our users, which is a granny flat company, and I'll just quickly jump onto that. Hopefully you can see my screen there. So here, this is a granny flat company. You've got this widget. You can make this widget as big or as small, or placed anywhere on the website, and then essentially you can log in, access one of these pins, say for a development, click on it in exactly the same way as you'll do with the CaniBuild app. And then if you do click one of these blocks, it'll show that block in the background. This could be a knockdown rebuild. This could have been their house address. This could have been the new block of land on an estate. It could be anything that you want it to be. And then here, you'll either create a new account or log in if you're a return user. In this case, I'll just log in just to show how it works. And then basically I've put in my credentials here, and then you'll be able to log in and access. So here, this is the block of land I randomly picked. And then on the left-hand side, you've got your design options, etc., that you can start taking to choosing and sort of reflecting there. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how this works and how you're able to sort of take advantage of this system.
This list of plans is obviously our plans, that they're Integrity New Homes plans that will be showing to the client at this stage.
Yeah, it's only your plan. So in this case, on the left-hand side, it's only the plans of the Rescon granny flat plans, for example. So that's how that works. So basically, that widget is your widget. It will be branded, stylized just for Integrity. It's not something that connects to CaniBuild in any way, and only reflects the designs you want to show on that web widget as well. And any leads that come through would be assigned to whichever user you've assigned it to. So, and these are the things that you can have as many widgets as you like. We don't charge per widget. So there could be one per landing page, or one is on the corporate website and then distributing. These are the things that we can have a chat to see how's the best way to approach it.
All right. So if a client came onto the website, they'd be able to pan around, say, the east coast of Australia and find any estates that you've got loaded. Is that right? Or do we have to?
Yeah, 100%. You can, and you can even select it so you don't show the estates either. So for example, if you just want to, for knockdown rebuilds, and just have the search address bar for them to search, you can do it that way, or show the estates, and they can gravitate anywhere around the country and start picking random estates and citing something. And the nice thing is you'll get their details in terms of name, email, mobile, because that's a verification process, but also which designs they're gravitating towards, how many times they're logging in and out and playing with it. So it's basically like a self-serve playing around, and it doesn't have any complexity in terms of contours and rules and quotes and things like that. It's purely pick design, shows the setback, and that's it. And then they're playing with it, and then they can click get flyer, and it'll generate one of those flyers they showed and email to them. So from your perspective, from the perspective of your franchisees and from the group as a whole, they'll be able to call that client and say, hey, I can notice that you've picked plan X on this address, looks great. Is there anything we can help you with? And it just carries on that conversation in a nice flowing way.
Excellent. So they can pretty much find an address like we would in CaniBuild as well. They could type in an address, locate it, click on it, and add a plan.
Yeah, 100%. If I just, jump back and I, heaven forbid, go to my 78 Hood Street, Yagoona, and you'll be able to click there, hopefully. And then it'll just jump to that address, and then you can start playing around with it as per normal. But you can see on the left-hand side, there's no tabs. There's only the design tab. So this is restricted to, in this case, just granny flats. And then you can click get flyer, and then it'll ask you, because we haven't verified this particular user, which happens to be our head of IT. And then you can verify that, and then it'll send to the verified email that flyer that you saw that I generated in the sales app. But the whole idea, you can imagine from the client's perspective, it's a whole lot of fun to start seeing, you know, in this case, how that granny flat might look on their block, and go from there.
Yeah, no, that looks like a great sales tool to me. I think that's something that probably lots of our builders would like on their site, just to start capturing leads and get that wow factor right up front.
100%. And then the advantage here, as always, is you're able to sort of jump back to those new estates and pick a random new estate and start seeing what's available, and pick one of these blocks, drill down to that block, and start playing with, you know, how something might look here. So this particular example is just granny flats, so it'll be very small looking builds, but you can see how a client can then see if whether or not, you know, that double story fits, and just fits notionally. And we don't want to sort of overcomplicate things. We're not at this stage showing acid sulfate and bushfire and contours. We're just doing something where they can cycle through these designs, see which one at least visually appeals to them. And from the perspective of integrity, obviously you're able to engage with a client in a pretty fun way at the start, especially if they're in that research phase.
Yeah, absolutely. So how soon is this coming out? Is this already out and we could make use of it, or it's still a few weeks away?
It's out to our key partners, such as like Integrity. So we're just doing it in that kind of soft launch first to just our current clients, or else we'll just get swamped. And we're doing it for the clients that we can see most benefit for, which is obviously our larger groups and key clients, which that's why we're sort of showcasing it here. But it's live, and you can see it on that website that's live for ResCon for each Granny Flat client, so that you can log in and have a play around with.
Excellent. All right. And is there any indicative pricing what we'd be looking at to start using that?
Yeah, so Jim's got all of that. We can send through an email in terms of the different options and how it might be structured. But it's basically, again, on the number of sort of searches that's being done, but it's nowhere near in terms of the same pricing as the sales app, which incorporates all the added features. So it's quite cost effective. To give you an idea, it starts from $4.95 for the widget install, and there's no setup like always, or any training or any maintenance contracts. So it's pretty effective in that regard.
Just quickly to touch on that too, Tim, as I mentioned this morning, that's multiple widgets as well. So you've got that accessibility, which can support you guys quite well.
Yeah, it looks really good. I think it'll be quite a cost-effective way to bring more leads in. So I'm very interested to explore that.
Yeah.
And you can imagine from a client's perspective, even if they're sort of talking to, say, another builder, if they find out that Integrity has this widget on where they can play around with the design, it gives another bite at the cherry, because they'll see your designs and they'll play with your designs, and to be able to use the system, they have to verify their details, and then you can engage those ones. And everyone just wants to get instant gratification, right? So if they're able to instantly pick their block of land or search for their block of land in an estate and choose an Integrity design that fits perfect, even some of the back and forth that Integrity has to suffer with the client in terms of the exploratory phase, they do themselves on a weekend. Their whole family can go around and start choosing between the top 3 designs, narrow it down to 2, and then call you on the Monday and say, hey, we're wanting to talk about this plan over here on our block and we think it suits, and then carry on the conversation from that point.
Absolutely. No, it looks like a great tool. All right. I'm not sure if anyone's got any questions at this stage, and how are we going there, Tim? Is there anything else to go through at this stage?
I think I've touched on the main points. The only thing I'd like to sort of remind everyone is just for our clients, every month on the first Thursday of every month at 11 o'clock, I do a webinar where I go through any new features in the last month, and allow all our clients to ask random questions during those webinars so I can answer, which is a nice touch point just to either ask a question or find out what's new. And always you can go to our YouTube channels and get many of the videos, which we've uploaded all the previous webinars as well that we've done. And again, you can email support@canibuild.com with any question that you have, or request a one-on-one training session and deep dive into any of the aspects. Happy to do that as well.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for joining, guys, and showing us through all of that. So I'll certainly be in touch to start talking through this widget and some of the other things we spoke about, like flyers and things as well.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like we've got any questions today, so you've covered it very well.
No, fantastic. Now, again, I appreciate the invitation, Tim, and thanks to everyone that's jumped on the session, and keen to keep the conversation going. But you guys are doing fantastic, and always a pleasure to join in and have a chat.
Wonderful. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you again next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.
Keep safe. Bye.